Okay, so picture this. Just last year, Google, the absolute titan of the internet, was in some serious trouble. The very AI revolution that had helped kickstart was suddenly threatening to leave it in the dust. Today, we're going to dive into the story of Google's massive high-stakes AI turnaround and the one guy who is tapped to lead the charge.
This quote right here from a major insider, Clay Bavor, who used to help run Google Labs, it just sets the stage perfectly. He's talking about a guy who'd been at the company for 16 years, but you've probably never heard his name. So who is this person, and how in the world did he end up at the very heart of Google's fight for its future?
To really get what was at stake, you have to feel the pressure they were under. In just the first quarter of 2025, Alphabet's stock absolutely cratered, dropping by a staggering 18%. Wall Street was in a panic, and the story was simple. Google was losing the AI race. Losing the race it arguably started.
I mean, the situation was absolutely critical. OpenAI's ChatGPT had just set the world on fire, and the way people used the internet was changing, like overnight. All of a sudden, searching for something felt kind of clunky and slow compared to just asking an AI for the answer. For Google, this wasn't just another competitor. This was a threat to its very identity as the front door to the internet.
And this is the part you really got to understand. This was never just about building a better chatbot. No, this was a fight to keep their whole world together. It was about making sure you stayed inside Google's universe for everything, from making pictures to shopping online. They had to change, and they had to do it like yesterday.
And that's where our main character enters the picture. In April of 2025, a guy named Josh Woodward was put in charge of the Gemini app, which was basically ground zero for Google's AI counterattack. Now, you might not know his name, but inside Google, he was a bit of a legend. He was known for one thing: cutting through all the corporate nonsense and actually getting stuff done.
His journey inside the company tells you everything you need to know about why he was the guy for the job. Woodward is a Google lifer, through and through. He started as an intern way back in 2009, worked his way up, tackled these huge projects like the Next Billion Users initiative, and then ended up in this super experimental Google Labs. This guy doesn't just work there, he gets how Google ticks.
So what's he actually like? Well, people who've worked with him describe this 42-year-old from Oklahoma as friendly, approachable, and known for a pretty goofy laugh. Not exactly what you'd expect, right? He's also a huge reader, always sending articles to his team. In fact, people respected his leadership so much that some of his colleagues used to joke that he was going to be the next CEO of Google.
Okay, so this is where we really get to the heart of it. It wasn't just about his vision, it was about how he made things happen. Woodward basically brought in a whole new playbook for Google, one that was designed to do one thing: just slice right through the legendary red tape that the company was famous for.
His whole method was just refreshingly simple. He set up something called a block system, where literally anyone could flag a problem that was slowing them down, and a team would be assigned to just get rid of it. He started a paper cuts process to go after all those tiny, annoying bugs that drive users crazy. He'd even jump on X and Reddit himself to talk directly to users. But his whole philosophy came down to one simple, powerful idea: let them cook. Basically, hire smart people, give them what they need, and then get out of their way.
And here's a perfect little story of how that worked. One of his teams was building a new product, Notebook LM, and they wanted to use Discord to get feedback from users. But they hit a classic Google roadblock. The company always prefers to use its own homegrown tools. So Woodward just stepped in. According to one of the product managers, Riza Martin, he just cleared the way for them. Why? Because Discord was the best tool for the job. Simple as that.
And this became his signature move, right? Choosing talent and speed over tradition every single time. Woodward was a big fan of this author, Steven Johnson, so he hired him, even though Johnson had zero corporate experience. And get this, just 1 week after he started, Johnson was up on stage at Google I/O, their biggest conference of the year, demoing a new feature. At the old Google, that kind of speed was it was unthinkable.
So, the big question: did this new, faster, let-them-cook approach actually pay off? Well, let's just say the results were explosive. And it all led to this one absolutely wild moment in the turnaround.
The whole thing really came to a head in August of 2025. Woodward's team launched a new feature inside the Gemini app called Nano Banana. It lets you create these little digital figurines from your photos. And it wasn't just a hit, it went completely viral. How viral are we talking? The demand was so insane that it started to buckle Google's own incredibly powerful infrastructure. At a company all-hands meeting, Google's head of AI infrastructure, Amin Vadat, just laid it out there. Our TPUs almost melted. Now, TPUs are Google's custom-built chips for AI, and they were being pushed to the absolute brink.
They literally had to slow down usage because their own hardware couldn't handle how popular this thing was.
The numbers tell the exact same story. By October, the Gemini app was seeing massive growth in its user base. And here's the real kicker. By the end of September, it did something nobody thought was possible. It actually knocked OpenAI's ChatGPT out of the #1 spot on Apple's App Store.
And hey, what about that stock price? Remember that painful 18% nosedive in the first quarter? Well, by the end of the year, Alphabet stock hadn't just bounced back. It had skyrocketed 62%, blowing past all of its big tech rivals. The turnaround was real, and you better believe Wall Street noticed.
But, this story isn't just about a happy ending for Google's stock price. All of this incredible speed brings up a much, much bigger question, one for the whole industry. When you're in this frantic race to build the future, how do you keep from breaking really important things along the way?
And this really gets to the core tension with all this AI stuff, doesn't it? On one hand, it can be this amazing tool for creativity, but on the other, it could just flood the world with junk, with slop, with misinformation. And even Nano Banana wasn't perfect. A pro version of the tool got hit with serious criticism because it was generating racially biased images, a really stark reminder of how hard it is to build this stuff responsibly. And that leaves all of us, not just Google, with this massive question. It's a dilemma for the entire industry. As these AI models get more and more powerful, how do we make sure that our sense of responsibility actually keeps up with our ambition?
We'll leave you with this last thought from Josh Woodward himself, which he said right before he took over the Gemini app. He knew how big this moment was. He said, "There are these moments where things change, and they change often for generations, and they can change for good or bad." He understood the stakes, and the ultimate question of whether this all changes for good or for bad, well, that's still being answered.